What's up, people? Welcome to Spoiler Alert for Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Gary Swaby,
Hey, what's up?
Emilio Lopez,
Vocal cord parasites.
and Chris Seeley.
Oh, wonderful day for spoilers.
Yes, all right. So we're gonna spoil the shit out of this game. We're probably gonna touch on some gameplay stuff, but not too much of it. We really want to focus on the story. I want to start things off with the actual intro of the game, man. How fucked up was that? And what? It's like, yeah, like, man, forget PT. That shit was scary, man. Like, 'cause you had no control whatsoever, you know. So yeah, Gary, start with you, man. What did you think of that crazy ass intro?
Oh yeah, the intro was fantastic. I liked the nurse's like chest in my face all the time, like,
Yeah, it's Kojima.
and when Quiet came to assassinate you, that was pretty interesting. When I first played it, I didn't actually know whether it was her or not. I didn't know until later, but yeah, that was cool. That whole sequence was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the build up because you're basically just crawling on the ground. As you keep going, you get a little faster, a little faster, a little faster, and then eventually you, like, walk and stuff, and then all this shit happens just gradually. I like the way it was built up, and then obviously later on we learned why the guy leading you around sounds like Jack Bauer.
Maybe
Like,
it needed a little dioxin.
yeah, it's like, why is he more of a badass snake than actual snake is? What's
Yeah,
going on here?
that's all I could think about. I'm like, this guy is a better big boss than me. I'm supposed to be big boss, and it's like, oh wait.
Here's the thing. I had a theory about that, but my theory at the time, I even said this before, well, like, when we were talking privately, that I thought that the guy behind the bandages was one of the big boss clones, specifically Solidus.
Yeah, my theory was it was Chico. Like when they said, like, hey, this guy's been watching over you for 9 years. I'm like, oh, who would do that? Chico.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just died off camera, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a mental thing. I thought it was just like a mental trick. Like he was doing all that, but he was projecting this, kind of fake person.
Yeah.
I was like, it's probably me doing it because what cemented it for me was the Jeep. I mean, not the Jeep, the ambulance when it
The
crashed.
ambulance, yeah.
It was upside down. And I was like, where did this guy go? Well, maybe it was all in his head. I thought it was like a mind game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gary, do you have any theories about that?
I really had no theory at that point. I hadn't heard any of like the rumors as well, because apparently there was rumors about what really happened and stuff. So like I was just going into it mad ignorant. I never beat Peace Walker either, so a lot of the characters from Peace Walker I wasn't that familiar with unless they were in Ground Zeroes. So I had no ideas, but I did kind of get the sense that this guy was like really experienced, whoever it was, because like he was just leading you through the hospital with like no anxieties at all. Like he was focused, he knew what he was doing the whole time. So I knew it probably had to be someone important, but I didn't have any clue as to who it would be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that later. And then for me, because when I saw this guy initially, I'm like, that fire guy looks like Volgan. And then when you see him with the trench coat, I'm like, it's Volgan. It's fucking Volgan.
And then there's the next question. How the hell is Volgan alive?
Yeah, and then the game obviously answers that. But yeah, the intro, man, I really liked it. It was very unique. You know what it kind of reminded me of? It reminded me of remember Metal Gear Solid 4 where you're just crawling along the ground in that like microwave oven thing? Like it reminded me of that. Yeah, it was really cool. I'm like, oh shit, it's a little bit of callback to that. I mean, this one you have a little bit more control. You don't have to just keep hitting X like crazy.
Oh yeah.
But then obviously, you get out and stuff, and it's like, hey, boss, some shit's going down. We took you out of the coma, and you're somehow gonna fix everything. It's like you're somehow gonna build your muscle mass back in 3 weeks. We gotta capture Miller again. It's like, okay. And then as that goes on and stuff, you start rebuilding Mother Base, and this whole game is really about, at least chapter 1, it's about revenge. Like usually, you're out for like a specific cause, like. You want to save the world. You want to stop nuclear weapons, all that. This one's like, nope, we're going to get revenge, motherfucker.
I have the biggest problem with that first chapter, and this is it. We're always talking about revenge. Everybody's like, oh, Mill's like, oh, they took away for everything from us. I lost my arm, I lost my leg, you lost your hand, you got a thing in your head. The thing is, the biggest problem with it is that there was the player never actually feels that sense of loss. As the player, you don't feel, at least for me, I never felt angry at Skullface for anything. You know?
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, he's the villain, go get him. Like, for in the past Metal Gear games, the constant, the villains of those games, those were constant problems throughout the thing, and you got to actually see what they do to the people and things that you, that are around you. Like you see Volgin beat the shit out of Eva, or electrocute her. You see him beat up Sokolov. You see him do all these horrible things, and then he does it to you.
Yeah.
In this game, Skullface officially, they blew up Mother Base. Number one, Mother Base at that point was just an idea. In Peace Walker, it was just a menu. I feel like if they actually gave you something to want to come after him for, I think that would have been a bit better.
What about torturing Chico and Paz?
Yeah,
but the thing is, again, torturing Chico and Paz off screen. We didn't even see it.
That's the
thing,
though.
Hear it.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, but it makes sense. You're not supposed to see it. You find the aftermath of what he's done, right?
Yeah,
the surgery in Ground Zeroes is like insane. Like they're field removing explosives from her body that he implanted in there. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I felt this as like, okay, this guy needs to go, because even when you get to Afghanistan, you see all the horrible shit that the XOF soldiers have been doing and stuff. Like, yeah, this guy kind of needs to go. And then you remember back to Ground Zeroes, that shit when he blew up your fucking face. That base.
Again, I feel like
I know what you're saying.
Like if you got to experience Mother Base, like if you got to experience a little bit of Mother Base as it was in its strongest, and then them taking that shit away from you, like something that happens later on in the game, I think that at that point I would have been like, oh fuck, I want to kill that guy. But at that point, it was just like it was just kind of like, all right, sure.
Yeah, no, I didn't feel that way at all, because I remember building that fucking Mother Base in Peace Walker, and then them taking it away in Ground Zero was like, okay, this motherfucker needs to go now. Like I felt it. And then you hear all the tapes and stuff with him torturing Paz, and Chico's like, yeah, this guy's not good, man. This guy needs to fucking go. So I definitely.
How did you, Gary, as a person who hasn't played Peace Walker, how did you feel about the villain of Skullface?
I completely agree with you, actually. For me, I felt no attachment to the villain at all, and the entire time I was actually thinking Miller was there was gonna be some kind of twist with Miller, because he seemed more of a villain to me than Skullface did, because he was kind of an asshole at times. But I felt like no connection to Skullface. I just knew, he was the guy that I'm after for whatever reason. Like they didn't do a very good job of building that up. Like even if you haven't played Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes, there should be something in there that lets you know why you're going after this guy. He should have more camera time in the actual story, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it from that perspective. Also, he's a corny villain.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
By the way, I want to latch on to something Gary has said. They could have done it better. That's like the theme of this game.
Yeah.
A lot of, but yeah, let's talk about Chapter 1, because to me, Chapter 1 didn't actually get started until like mission 25.
Yeah, like when you're picking up friggin' Code Talker.
Yeah,
right?
like when you actually, as soon as the virus hits, right? That's when the game actually starts to pick up. Like it was a little cool when you got Quiet and stuff. By the way, that whole thing with Quiet was fucking awesome. That was like one of the best sequences in the game, where she like shoots a fucking Harrier jet like while it's flying at you and stuff.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous. I love that shit. But yeah, the game to me didn't really pick up until like the outbreak happens. Like basically like this outbreak happens in your base. You don't know what the hell's going on. And then you got to find out what's happening, and then that eventually leads you to finding a Code Talker, and he tells you about the vocal cord parasites.
I feel that
the vocal cord parasites, man.
By the way, I also feel that Code Talker and that virus thing should have happened a tiny bit earlier in the chapters, to kind of, because the one thing everybody seems to like Chapter 1. Officially, for me, Chapter 1 was probably the most boring of it because there was nothing that was actually really story related that involved the main characters or any of the things that came until Code Talker. Like, in other words, most of the time you're just like, pick up that enemy detachment over there, blow up that base over there. But there's officially, like, I felt like it's like we're just doing, I guess because it goes with the name, tactical operations, whatever. But I feel like we should have still gotten more snippets of real story in there. But then again, it could have been the fact that the game was maybe rushed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that, obviously. I mean, we'll talk about Chapter 2 because I feel that's the weak chapter in this one, because this one, like, when it picks up, man, it doesn't let go. But
the thing is that it just kind of picks up toward the end, which is...
Yeah, it picks up towards the end, but it's kind of better than Chapter 2, where it doesn't. You get 2 main story missions, and the rest are just fillers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like any of that. But yeah, Chapter 1, like, yeah, it was basically. But the thing is, even throughout it, you still get glimpses of what's going on. Like, hey, that whole village was burned. Like, why was that village burned? And later on, you find out it was because of the parasites. And all that shit.
But the thing is that officially was more of a main story up. That right there was like, oh, okay, what's going on here? That was a real story thing. Picking up the enemy combatant guy. Who supposedly, you're in the general. I understand what's trying to go for. You're following the trail to kind of get to something, but every single time it seems like it gets you somewhere, and it's like, oh well, these guys were just a company on top of a company next to a company, so it was a dead end.
Yeah, well, I just felt like, why were you picking up all these pieces when everything led back to Cypher? It was like, are they working for Cypher? There's Dummy Corporation for Cypher. It's like, so if Cypher's the answer, why don't you just go after them? Or Skullface. Skullface.
But the problem is they're like, oh, we can't go into open war with them. You're like, why not? Just go. You have this fucking army already.
They technically declared open war on you when they blew up Mother Base, so I don't understand. It's like, I want revenge, but we have to do it very delicately and strategically and slowly. It's like kind of weird. And there were 2 disparate stories going on. Well, there was more. There was maybe 3 or 4, but the thing with Philanthropist, right, and the vocal cord parasites don't connect at all. There's just this thing with the parasites, and then Huey and fucking Philanthropist are over here, and that's a whole other thing you have to deal with. It's kind of weird that they don't connect at all. And can I say I'd prefer that parasites weren't in here at all? If they just said nanomachines caused this, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the beginning of nanomachines. It's like, wait a minute, so you're saying everything from the Cobra unit to now has been parasites. So all these superpowers.
Yeah, it's dumb. I really like it. Like to me, it was like too much like Resident Evil. I'm like, okay, this virus that's ancient, you revived it.
Yeah.
And now you're using it. It's dumb. They're like, okay, they could have been like, oh yeah, but it's 1984. We didn't have national technology. We also didn't have fucking wormhole machines either in 1984. So get out of here with that.
And I enjoyed wormholes. Like, come on, man. I would have taken nanomachines.
Yeah, nanomachines are fine. All right. Manny will join us a little bit later. But Chapter 1 didn't really pick up until like the end, and that's where it gets really good. It's like, ooh, man, what's going on with these parasites? Like, what the hell's going on with this outbreak? What's going on with Code Talker? And then you got to fight the crazy ass. What was it? The fucking I forgot their names now. Those crazy.
The skulls.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and then I didn't feel they got enough explanation. Like, the skulls were there and they were cool. I was like, this is like Metal Gear's version of the Borg, right? This is how the Borg, they're running around, they're fucking fast, and they can camouflage and do all this shit, and they generate guns from nowhere. They're like pulling out guns from the thin air, and they're scary, right? So I thought, man, and then you don't see them that often in the game at all. Like, they get their missions, and then you don't see them again. And I'm like, well, what's the point of them?
Yeah, and that's the thing that Metal Gear Solid 5 is lacking, I think, like good boss fights. Because the other games are known for the boss fights, like they have really good boss fights, and you kind of get a look into each of the bosses' characters and everything, and that helps build the story, the backstory, when you fight these guys, and then you probably take them down, and then they give you a little speech before they die. They fill in a lot of the gaps of the story throughout those phases of the game, but you don't really get that in this game. So that was another disappointment.
Yeah, because the main bosses in this don't talk. Think about it. Quiet doesn't speak. The skulls are just monsters. The Sahelanthropus is a robot.
It's like a robot Godzilla. Yeah, they don't talk. And fucking Skullface, even though he talks, I don't understand half of what the motherfucker's saying. He's just
Yeah.
babbling. And he's like, the language, and all this stuff. And he's talking about parasites and revenge and all this shit. I'm like, man, your stuff is confusing. I only started to understand the stuff when I got his tapes. And I'm like, okay, now this makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, because that's the thing. Metal Gear, the hallmark has always been the boss fights, and this one you could skip most of these boss battles if you wanted to. There's only like two or three, or maybe just two like forced ones. Like Sahelanthropus is the only one. That one and the skulls in the airfield. That's like the only two boss battles you have to actually engage in. All the others you could actually skip.
Yeah.
Even Quiet, you could skip that battle if you want
But
to.
even think, you don't even have to fight the skulls at that truck.
You don't.
I didn't fight them. I got the hell out of there. I fought in that truck, threw smoke grenades, decoys, and left.
Yeah, man, exactly. So yeah, no necessary boss fights, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, like I said, I really liked when the game actually picked up. It was like, oh man, I can't stop playing this. And then like you kill Skullface. I like the way you kind of took care of him. You like blew his limbs off and stuff.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, that was fucking cold.
Yeah.
I let
Manny,
it play.
how are you? Yeah, there you are. You let it play?
Yeah, I let it play out, and it automatically made me shoot him.
Yeah, it does. And then when I did that mission again, I was like, let me shoot him this time. And every time you shoot him, you revert back to like snake and bandages for some reason. With
Yeah,
every
the
shot.
hospital snake. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't get that.
Wait, for all of you guys, Snake shot Skullface?
No, but like Miller makes him shoot him.
Yeah, Miller makes you blow his limbs off.
Yeah, but like I said, what I tried to do was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot him this time. And when I shot him, I would revert back to Hospital Snake. But it was
Yeah.
like every single shot I took was just a figment of my imagination or something.
Yeah.
It was really weird how that happened. And then, but yeah, chapter one, it was mostly like just breadcrumbs and stuff. But even within that chapter, like, you got to see some shit in Metal Gear you never saw before that made you feel really genuinely, like, unnerved. Like, that whole hospital thing, like, the African hospital, I'm like, damn, this is fucked up.
Oh, the Devil's House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely had moments that were like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. I mean, even just being in that area, like it didn't feel fun like in the other games. Like, hey, this is fun. This is like, oh, this is serious, man. Like Afghanistan, all that bullshit that was going on, that was pretty heavy. And then after all that stuff happened, we get to chapter 2 and chapter 2, man. Like,
I'm gonna say this before you go off on it. The only reason why I like chapter 2 a little bit more is because there was way more tapes and stuff that involved the actual storyline. As far as missions, it was light.
Yeah, I mean, missions, it was like it had you repeating missions just on harder difficulties. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but don't make them main missions. They are all roadblocks to getting the story.
Yeah.
And then the actual missions themselves were stupid. They're just repeats, I mean, okay, they're literal repeats and then like spiritual repeats, like, hey, capture that guy. Go take this tank. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I beat Skullface already. What the fuck am I fighting for now? It was very pointless. And
Yeah.
then, actually, I want to go back a little bit. I want to go to chapter 1. Mr. Eli.
Yes.
Now, for me, when they were like, oh, yeah, there's this, white kid soldier leading a bunch of troops, I'm like, hey, is that Raiden? And then I see him like, oh, it's Liquid.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because they revealed all of that in the trailer. You see that kid right away, and it's like, oh, that's Liquid.
Yeah, I guess I must have missed that trailer or something, but I was like, it was a nice surprise. Like, oh, it's Liquid, and then just to nail it home, he even goes, Snake, it's not over yet. I'm like, yeah, you're fucking Liquid.
Yeah. And also his code name was White Mamba. I'm
like, the White Mamba, yeah, Snake and stuff. That little shit, man. I just wanted to beat the fuck out of him, just running around.
Again, they had a lot more missions dealing with him in chapter 2 as well.
Yeah, but they were just kind of like, okay, go around and beat him up again,
Well, there was the beat him up again, and then there was like all the shit that he's causing on the base.
I hated Eli, man. I wanted to throw him off Mother Base, like into the ocean.
See exactly what I was talking about with Skullface. He's an antagonist that continues to fuck you over.
But it's not an antagonist. He's just an annoying little kid. It's like, dude, I'm giving you food, man.
If Skullface's attacks felt more direct like that, I feel like he would have been more of an effective villain.
Yeah. Why was it a mission for you to go back to Mother Base just to fight him?
Yeah,
Like,
that was
I
dumb.
mean, just beat him up. That was dumb. I'm like, why doesn't Ocelot go beat him up? Like, what do I have all you guys on here for?
I think they just needed reasons for you to keep going back to Mother Base, like
Oh yeah.
otherwise, because it's there, so they want you to use it. Otherwise,
I
it's
just I just go back to Mother Base to take a shower.
like,
That's all I do. Go back and take a shower, exactly. And then, going on what Manny said about tapes, that bothered me too because I'm like, okay, hey man, can you mute yourself when you're not talking because the wind and stuff is like kind of crazy.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right, no problem. So yeah, like the game is like okay, basically old Metal Gears they got chastised for having too many long cutscenes, right? Now you have this game that's literally 100 hours long of just pure gameplay, and you only get maybe 2 hours of cutscenes. I'm like, I would have preferred to get more cutscenes than these stupid ass tapes. You know, it's like you're sitting in the ACC. At least that's what I did. I sat in the helicopter for hours just listening to these tapes, and the tapes were interesting. Don't get me wrong. I liked listening to the tapes. The show with the burgers of Kazuhiro Miller, hilarious. But I would have preferred actual cutscenes. I would have been nice to see, Zero and stuff. You know, instead of just hearing them.
Yeah.
Gary,
that's my biggest problem with the game, because having the cassette tapes, it just makes the whole story seem disjointed. I would have preferred, the
Yeah,
codec
I agree.
calls and the cutscenes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
like I don't mind tapes per se, but it's just most of the story is told through the tapes. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then man, again, a lot of that shit happens through chapter 2, but chapter 2, man, has that one golden ray of sunshine, man. Even though it's called shining light appropriately enough. I love that
Yeah.
chapter. Totally different from what you're used to. Basically, you have to go in and kill all your men. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, remember that one scene where they literally they see you and they all just salute you. They know what
Yeah.
you're gonna
Oh,
do. Like,
yeah. That was
man.
a fucked up scene, man.
And I feel like that should have been in chapter 1 too.
Yeah,
Imagine-
Manny, go ahead because
Imagine if that,
I like
imagine
your
if that was
saying.
in chapter 1. At that point, when I was shooting my men, I'm like, now I want to fucking kill Skullface, and he's dead already.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really.
Yeah. Yeah, if they would have had that chapter 1, it's like, okay, man, you just made me kill my dudes.
Exactly.
I said I'm getting you. And then that was a kind of missed opportunity, though, because, like, you figured, okay, once he kills all his men, he's going to, this is when the turn happens, the evilness, but
Yeah,
not
that
much.
that sequence would have been great. When the funeral and he puts the ashes on his face and he says we're gonna compress him into diamonds and carry him with us.
Yeah.
Then if it had gone into the scene where you're prepping to go after Skullface, that would have been way better.
That
So
would
I
have been
agree.
way better.
Yeah, but still, that whole chapter was fantastic, man. That's actually a chapter I've never went back. I'm glad there's no S rank for it because I don't want to replay it. It's too, it's like when you finish The Last of Us. I'm like, I can't play this game for like another year, man. It's too
Yeah.
much.
That was pretty heavy. Yeah.
But that was cool. And then the other, the biggest plot hole of the game. Let's talk about it. Fucking Eli runs off with Sahelanthropus. It's like, wait, what? Like, how will you not resolve this? This is big,
Well, there was three things. Like Sahelanthropus flies off with these
Yeah,
kids.
literally flies
Like,
off.
I'm like, am I playing Peter Pan now? They just flew off, and this you fought this thing, and it I mean I took a leap at you before when you rescued Huey, but I didn't think this shit could fly. I'm like, did this thing just fly off Mother Base? Like,
Well, I mean, wasn't it Psycho Mantis I was making it fly?
okay, that could be the reason. I didn't know how it was flying. I'm just sitting there like, this motherfucker just flew off. With all these kids. Yes, and that doesn't get resolved at all. He just takes off. Goodbye, and that's it. You don't see him again. Like they never go back into that. Then I got to do a total stealth version of an old mission, an extreme version of another mission I played. I'm like, where's that?
Yeah, that's the main thing. And then, obviously, let's get right into it. The ending, the twist ending, where you find out, hey, you haven't been playing as Big Boss this entire time. You've been this other guy. You've been the medic from Ground Zeroes. Now, Gary, I want your thoughts. I know you were pretty upset about this.
Yeah, I was like, I took it as a slap in the face at first because, this whole time I thought, I was Big Boss, getting in. I thought I was going to get to learn more about Big Boss's journey and everything. And then, as I kept playing the game, I was getting more unsatisfied with it. But I guess it made sense at the end why the game was the way it was because you're not actually Big Boss. So it made sense in the end after I thought about it for a while, but it was seeing it for the first time. It was kind of like slap in the face a little bit. To me.
Well, Yeah, and something Manny said last night when we were talking personally made total sense that the pieces were there. All the hint they were throwing out hints that this guy wasn't Big Boss, but you just don't want to believe it because of all the shit you're doing. That's so amazing. You're like, it's got to be right. But then you think about it, he's got a metal piece in his head that could kill him if you take it out. He's missing his army as a bionic army. You're like, Big Boss has been intact throughout history. So how are they going to resolve this? And it's like it had to be another one. Then what hit it home for me when I started questioning him was when the genetic test for Eli came back, and they're like, oh, he can't be your son because his DNA doesn't match you, so he can't be a clone. And I'm like, wait a minute, Eli is goddamn well Liquid Snake. So how
that fucked me up as well when that happened. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, so then the only other answer is that you're not Big Boss. That's why his genes don't match yours.
Yeah, I mean, I know there were people that said, they were surprised by it. Like, oh, wait, it just came out of nowhere. But if you go back and play a game, there's clues everywhere. Even if you're in the helicopter, for you guys who haven't noticed, if you're in the helicopter at night on a clear sky, right, hit the R3, it zooms in, look at the reflection. Right, Gary, remember I showed you this? It's your avatar. And because remember, when you're playing a game, you're like, why am I making an avatar? You just figure, like, okay, it's probably for the online. No, they're actually, like, reconstructing your face, basically.
And I think...
Go ahead.
And I found that by mistake, by the way.
Oh, the clicking thing?
Yeah, like when I looked in the mirror, I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like my avatar. That doesn't look like Snake.
Yeah, and it also kind of explains why he doesn't talk very much. He's just getting orders from people, Yeah. But then my thing is like, okay, why do you need less infanterie program when you could just mentally program people to be as awesome as Big Boss?
Yeah, I had a problem with that too.
Yeah, either that or he was the most badass medic ever.
Who knows if the guy that you're playing essentially became nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean we'll get to that in a bit, but it just seemed weird. It's like it's like wait, you just program awesomeness into somebody like that, basically.
Well, I mean, it explains why he's only an A rank soldier, not an S rank soldier.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. It's like, why am I picking up people that are better than Snake? It don't make any sense. And then the other thing it resolved for me was like in the first Metal Gear, right? Why does Big Boss send you to kill himself? It never made any sense. Now it makes sense. Like, okay, Phantom Boss or Venom Snake, whatever you want to call him. Like, this isn't said in the game, but the theory is like something he did something Big Boss didn't like. It's like, okay, Solid Snake, go take this motherfucker out.
Yeah, that's what my theory is.
Yeah, he served his purpose. He needs to go. So it answers that question. Like, why did it seem like there were two big bosses? Because there were two big bosses.
Yeah,
the thing is about the time frame. Like, he literally builds a whole country in Metal Gear 2. Or the MSX. How he can't do that in like a few years. It's almost like the next year or 2 years later.
Right, and he couldn't have built up a nation, built up Foxhound, and then done all this stuff around the world. One man couldn't have possibly done all that. So it makes sense that there was another one who was doing that.
Have you guys heard the theory that right at the end where Phantom Snake smashes the mirror, that's the scene right before he's going to fight Solid Snake? Like, it goes forward in time kind of thing?
Because that's the thing. That scene right there, right? You assume it takes place right after Metal Gear Solid 5 ends, but no, that could actually take place in the future. So that theory actually makes a lot of sense. I think, remember, like Manny pointed out, there's a war gun behind you, and you're full of blood and shit. Yeah. So I think that scene takes place right before Metal Gear proper. Because he gets the tape, the Intrude whatever tape. That's the name of the first.
Yeah, that's on Metal Gear. That's the name of the first mission.
So yeah, I think that theory probably has some merit to it for sure. But me personally, I wasn't upset by it because it all made perfect sense. Like, don't get me wrong, there was still a little bit like, man, I wasn't Big Boss. Like, this kind of reminds me of fucking Metal Gear Solid 2. Remember, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna play Metal Gear Solid 2. I'm gonna be Snake, and it's like, wait, who's this guy? Okay, I'm gonna be Snake. I'm gonna be Snake again, right? Nope.
Yeah, I wasn't as mad because Raiden is not Snake. Raiden is Raiden. He's totally different. Like, you had to, like, this was very hidden that this wasn't Big Boss, but he looks and acts like Big Boss. Like, you are Big. So I was okay with that. With Raiden, Raiden ain't Solid Snake, man. That was plainly obvious, you know. So
Yeah, but I wasn't too upset by it. Then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that does make sense. And then I like the meta message behind it. It's like you are Big Boss, I'm Big Boss, we're all big. We're both Big Boss. We've been through this journey together. That's kind of like Hideo Kojima telling the fans that it's like we've been through this journey together. We finally did it. All that. I like that whole aspect. I totally got where he was coming from. I thought that was cool.
Also at that point, it kind of made me more. Shit, sorry.
I mean, somebody's getting shot. What the fuck?
No, that's somebody hammering. Just so it happens to go as I walk by. The part. There's everything out here.
Yes, go ahead.
Keep going.
Oh, you sure? All right. I want to. So
keep going.
Okay. Basically, let's get into this part right here that I want to get to. I think the whole thing with Kojima and Konami very much showed in this game. Manny, can you mute yourself? All right, there we go. Yeah, I think the whole thing showed the disjointedness of this game. I think all that infighting definitely showed in this game because if Kojima was left to his own devices, this game would have been really finished and polished, just like every other Metal Gear game was. But I think Konami, all that shit that was happening, they were probably like, okay, let's get this shit out the door now because I think it's a lot more development time. Obviously, the Sahelanthropus fight with the kids and stuff that was in the game. They just took it out. It wasn't completed yet. So, yeah, did you guys get that sense too? It's like, yeah, this game is not 100% complete, at least from a story standpoint.
Yeah, I do. I feel like there was a lot of rejumbling and things.
Oh, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, Mr. Roboto. Manny, you sound like a robot right now, dude. I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah. That may be also part of what
Manny, you have to say that all again. You sound like a robot.
Yeah, we couldn't understand you, man.
Yeah. Technical difficulty. I don't know. Anyway, Chris, go ahead, man. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the disjointedness was pretty bad. The Sahelanthropus was the biggest problem with the game because we didn't get to finish that story. We didn't get to finish a Liquid story, which Liquid, it seemed like what they were building up to was Liquid and Quiet were the focus of Chapter 2, but we didn't finish. For me, I didn't finish Quiet's story for another reason. But Eli is just. That's it. He's on the lam with a Metal Gear and his child army, and it's like we know the future already. Like we know this guy doesn't grow up with a freaking Metal Gear, man. You gotta deal with that. We gotta know what happened to Sahelanthropus, right? And we'll never know because Konami just cut that shit out.
Yeah, I mean we do know because thanks to the Blu-ray and stuff, you saw the whole cuts, the whole scene and stuff recreated kind of, but it's not in the game.
It's not in the game. That's what I mean.
It's not in the game, which kind of sucks because this game, has all that so much potential, but it didn't live up to it just because of all that fucking infighting. It kept it from being what it really could have been. And it's crazy because to me, even the game in its current state is still better than most games out there. So that tells you how more powerful it could have been.
Yeah, with all these things we're complaining about, this is still my contender right now for Game of the Year.
Oh yeah.
Even with all this stuff we're mentioning, like holes and stuff. And this, I think there's a lot of forgiveness. I think people realize too how bad this infighting was. That there's a lot of forgiveness given to this game because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But Gary, what do you think of the way the game was structured? Do you think Konami and Kojima's fighting was hurt it?
Yeah, definitely. I think Chapter 2 was really suffered because of the infighting. Because when you beat Chapter 1 and it gives you that preview of what's to come in Chapter 2, you're like, oh shit, it looks like some major shit's gonna happen. But then you get to it and it's like, okay, now you have to repeat these missions, and that was the worst part of the game. That's the worst thing about the game because, like Manny said, I actually do think the story picked up in Chapter 2. I feel like that was the stronger part of the game. It's just the fact that on the gameplay side, you had to repeat these missions, so everything got a bit tedious at that point, and that kind of let things down a little bit. So I do believe that Kojima wouldn't have left us hanging like that if things weren't how they were with him and Konami.
Yeah, exactly. Because given his history with Metal Gear, he's never done that. You've always got these complete experiences, full experiences with Metal Gear. This one, it didn't feel that way at all. you know.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
I'm back.
Yes, there you are.
Yo.
And I know some people felt like, okay, maybe the open world nature of it kind of hurt it. I don't think so too much. I think it was just that infighting. That's what really hurt it a lot, you know. Before we move on, I want to let's talk about Quiet real quick. Her story arc, the
Yep.
game. You know, Manny, go ahead since you're back. What would you think of the whole Quiet thing?
I liked, I think she kind of, you know how the whole thing with her being like half naked and all that stuff. I do think that was a kind of a silly, a silly explanation. It's like, oh, she has to be naked, so because she could absorb more sunlight. Yeah. Now, at the same time, I feel like it's kind of a silly reason to make her half naked, but
Yeah, especially when the end he used the same power he had full clothes on.
Yeah, he had a friggin' suit on.
Yeah.
I personally, though, I feel like toward the end of her arc, I feel like I liked her a lot more because at the beginning she was it was as far as going through the missions, I liked having her on because she was amazing at getting everybody. But at the end, I feel like okay, this is cool. Like once her arc ended.
Yeah, I like the way her arc ended. My problem with the arc is it ended too early because I'm like when I finally upgraded her completely, right? I lose her forever. I'm like, God damn it, man! Now she's like a true beast, man. Like I gave her the Brennan gun and stuff. She was being awesome, and then she's gone. Chris, I know you yeah, Chris.
Sad.
Yeah, it's sad, man. Go ahead, Gary. What do you think of all that?
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I was legit sad, man, because she was like my favorite character. But I do think they did a great job of, ending her arc. Like that whole mission was probably one of the best missions in the game. Like, one of the few. But just the fact that she was gone, like that kind of hurt me a little bit because she was like the best character, my favorite companion. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like, hey, big props to D-Dog, obviously, but Quiet, she takes everybody out, man. You send her to that base, like, all right, go.
But we found a little something to keep her around.
I found something to keep her around.
Chris still has her.
He still has her.
And I beat the game.
Yep.
What did you do? Like not play that mission or something?
No, that mission isn't available to me because those targeting missions around Mother Base. You have to run around shooting the targets.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do any of them.
Oh okay.
And if you don't do that, then her final mission doesn't appear. So in my game, even though I got the Man Who Sold the World ending, and I even fought Extreme Philanthropist and all that stuff, she's still there. I can summon her right now into my game.
Yeah, I was telling Chris, I'm like, dude, finish everything with her. Yeah. Do everything.
Yeah.
Because I put like 230 hours into it, and for 130 of those hours, no Quiet for me. I'm like, damn, man. And she would have made some of those boss fights a lot easier, too, because she doesn't fuck around, man, with the skulls and stuff.
Do you still not get her back even if you replay her mission?
Nah, even if,
Oh, no, but Tony has a glitch.
What's the glitch?
Don't you still see her in the brig?
Yes, she's still in the brig. She's still in the brig. Like, she's not physically there. She's just there in the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not there in the in the actual brig itself and stuff. But yeah, I thought the whole thing with Quiet was cool. Again, I wish it would have been fleshed out a little more because it was nice hearing her talk at the end.
Yeah.
But I wanted her it would have been cool if she you would have kept her around and she kept on talking because I feel she probably has a very interesting story to tell, but you didn't really get to know it too much.
She gets to be mysterious.
Yeah.
Yo, I spent mad GMP buying her sniper wolf outfit, and then she left right off.
Man. Like I bought her that. I bought her like the other her regular suit from the beginning of the game. I bought her all this cool stuff, and then I lose her. I'm like, God damn it! I never even get to try her out with this shit. That sucked, man. But
So well, we can't even put a warning to new players, but. But if you are, you probably screwed the game over for you anyway. But yeah, if you ever decide to replay the game, don't play those missions on the mother base, and you'll probably be able to keep her. You'll be able to keep her all the way to the end. Also, don't put that butterfly thing on your logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never changed my logo.
Yeah, you still have Diamond Dogs.
I still have Diamond Dogs, the default one. Yeah.
But all right, so we pretty much covered all the stuff.
What about Paz? Did we talk about that?
Let's talk about Paz.
The Blue Room.
Yeah. Obviously, okay. So in the infirmary, right? Where Quiet is. If you keep going further, is an infirmary, and you get to meet someone, a certain a woman, Paz, who hasn't aged a day, and you got to collect all these letters for her and stuff, and then you find out it was all a figment of your imagination.
Yep. The thing is, because it shows you a whole sequence of events, and it shows you like an alternate version of the sequence of events, where it's like they found the extra bomb, but she still jumped in the water and all this other stuff. It's interesting, but I mean, I wish they kind of did. It kind of goes with what they said earlier in the game, where they said that he's colorblind. Big Boss is slightly colorblind, and he can't tell the difference between certain colors at times, and also would hallucinate if certain things happen to him. So I wish they kind of played with that a little bit more. But yeah.
When you saw Paz, it's like, wait, what the fuck?
I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But I saw, as I kept on doing them, I noticed weird things about the room. Whenever you walk in the room, no matter what time of day, it all automatically is always day, and you can always hear like seagulls. When you're on Mother Base normally, you don't hear seagulls. You just hear the movement of those machines, and that's it. Like you hear that, and then you maybe hear the guys walking around, but and then you hear the water, but you don't hear it like that. And then also the room is blurry. Like she's clear, but for some reason Big Boss is all blurry looking, and everything's all shimmery and dreamy looking.
Yeah, a lot of little clues in there let you know, like, hey, this isn't really happening. But getting the whatchamacallit for her, the notes, was fun because you have to find the wandering Mother Base soldiers.
Yeah.
And the way you get them, the easiest way is just stay in the box. And then when they see the box, like, boss, is that you?
And then they walk up. They have a goofy walk, too, where they kind of wave their arms around.
Yeah.
Like, yo, man, what you been drinking?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew what happened to those guys. That would have been cool too if in the alternate, if they set up the game a certain way where you physically send those guys out, before you go on Ground Zeroes, you send those guys out and you get to see the base.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Chris.
I would have thought that. I mean, they're in just where you're playing, right? In Afghanistan and in Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just happen to be there. But wouldn't it have been nice if those combat deployments could have been like, you would have been deploying those guys all over the world. An original Mother Base was in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you expect them to be more concentrated in South America?
They're all in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I know that there is, like, when you do combat deployments, they would eventually go all over the world, so maybe those guys could have been sent to there. But here's the other thing. Maybe those guys could have been figments too.
Dun, dun, dun.
But Miller's talking about them while you go get them.
He's also in the cinematic when they first introduced Paz as well.
Yeah,
him and Ocelot.
Oh wait, so you guys think Paz is a figment? Like all that, the Blue Room is just like a hallucination.
The Blue Room
is it is. They when you finish the whole story thing, it is a figment of your imagination. You find out.
In fact, even the soldiers on the base are like confused. They're like, the boss keeps walking into this room that's under construction. There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
So you literally crazy Big Boss is just walking into this room thinking something is happening there. And then walking out.
It's like, don't judge me.
Don't judge me.
Okay, I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this shit for weeks, man. I'm going to talk about Huey, man. Fuck Huey, man.
Oh, yeah.
Son of a bitch. Because here's the thing, okay, because he sounds like, like Otacon, so you kind of just trust him automatically, right? No, this guy's a motherfucker, man. Ooh, I'm mad at him right now. Okay, so basically, remember that one scene, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, where you kill all your men and he's giving you shit about it? Snake, why are you killing him? And you find out the reason you have to kill him is because he, re-engineered the fucking virus. So he's on this moral high ground and shit, giving you all this crap. Meanwhile, he's the reason for it.
Oh no, I was waiting for that shoe to drop because you remember in Metal Gear Solid 2 the story that Otacon tells about his father.
Oh,
right?
That he's fucked. That's right. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we already know he's awful from what Otacon tells Snake about him, and right, the thing that happens with Emma and all that stuff. So. I'm waiting because I'm like, this guy can't, is not going to help you. And then, so he's just awful. He's just, at every turn, he's betraying you guys, right? He's Salanthropus, and the fucking, and then re-engineering the virus somehow, then helping the child soldiers, right? He got them to fix Philanthropist for him, right? I don't know to what end, because maybe Ocelot and Miller catch him before he's able to do whatever it is he was going to do, and they steal it, right? But every turn, the only thing he did for you was make battle gear, and that shit just goes on deployments. Like, you don't use battle gear; it's like useless.
Yeah, and then it makes me go back like, hey, did he actually call XOF into your base originally? Because he like denied it the whole time. Like, no, I just wanted the UN to give us legitimacy. But it's like, I don't know, man.
I think he's been lying the whole time. Okay, the most fucked up thing that we're not talking about is Strangelove.
Yes.
What he did to her, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah,
Like,
go ahead, Chris. Explain that whole thing.
Okay, so they're in one of the interrogations, Miller finds out, I guess off a tape he had or something, that Strangelove got locked in the AI pod from Peace Walker.
Oh,
right?
they say they found a body in it when you.
They found a body, and
then
from the tape they figure out who it is and why Strangelove is not around. She's not around because she's dead. She's dead, trapped in the AI pod. Then you find out that Huey killed her and put her in there, right? After she gave birth to his son. So I don't know what, I'm not sure exactly what events happened after that, but that's pretty, like, messed up.
He essentially locked her inside of it.
No,
Like,
but I'm not sure why he did that. Like, he kept changing his story, remember? He kept saying, oh, she locked herself in there. Oh, Skullface put her in there. Remember? He kept changing his story.
I think what happened was because she probably got pissed off that he put fucking Hal inside of the Metal Gear, because remember, he said Metal Gear Philanthropist cannot use a normal sized pilot because of all the shit that's in its head to make it stand upright. So what he did was he put Hal in there and made him control it, and that's why he's like, it's impossible. No kid could fully control Philanthropist effectively, and it's because he stuck his kid in there and had him try to do it.
Yeah,
so that's probably Strangelove confronted him about it, and then that's what happened.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was just gonna ask, was a lot of this stuff referenced in Peace Walker? Because some of Huey's story did confuse me. Like, I didn't know.
No, a lot of it they tell in any of the tapes. A lot of it they tell you. So it's just a couple of different things in order. But he obviously did put his son inside of there. They mentioned that in one of the other tapes. And
so Huey is essentially Gendo Ikari. He's Shinji's father.
He is Shinji's father.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after that, I'm like, man, like, and then at the end, after you find all that shit, you like send him off on a boat. I'm like, no, put a bullet in this guy's head, man. Fuck Huey.
Yeah, but history has to play out, right? He's got
to.
He's got to play out his life. So.
And then they even say it at the end. It's like maybe someday, he'll realize what he did wrong. So that's probably one of the reasons why he drowned himself in the pool.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the thing that pissed me off the most in that game. That motherfucker betrayed you, man. And then you remember from Peace Walker too, he was helping you and stuff, and then he just turned it. But I guess you're right. Like they said, this guy was an asshole. Now he showed it.
The thing is that he also was like he was the. His motives for a lot of the things were his own. He wanted to create this robot. He wanted to do these things, and and MSF were the means to an end.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. By the way, that's a good segue. I want to talk about Philanthropist because Chris was like, "Why is this thing the most advanced Metal Gear ever?" It's like, what the fuck? Like that thing. If you put that thing against Metal Gear Rex, Metal Gear Ray, it'll beat the shit out of all of them. Yet, it's not around anymore. Like
but the thing is that it needed quite one of the things that it needed, which was it needed a child to run the damn thing, because he couldn't fit a normal soldier inside of there. Other than Liquid, or Eli, he's the only one who could pretty much control it without any problems. Because
Psycho Mantis was controlling,
and he was controlling it before that. Eli works it later on.
Right. Yeah, but it's still more advanced than anything. And and the only thing preventing Huey from finishing it was he's like, the AI wasn't finished. That's why
Yeah.
he was confused how it was working. He didn't
Yeah.
know about Psycho Mantis. He's like,
Yeah.
there's no AI. How is it moving? You know?
Yeah, because essentially they made it for a pilot, but the pilot had to be tiny. So then it's like, okay, so what's controlling it? Oh, it's Mantis,
Yeah,
Right.
basically.
a pilot that's outside of it.
But you realize, okay, so if you look at all the Metal Gears, right, they needed something to make them work, and their tech wasn't that like this advanced. Like you look
Yeah.
at Philanthropist. Philanthropist has 2 walking modes. It looks like a Rex, and then it stands up and looks like something out of Zone of Enders.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that it has metallic archaea as a weapon, so it could rust
Yeah.
everything
Which makes
around
no
it.
sense, yeah.
And then it can cannibalize itself because its armor is made out of depleted uranium and can make a nuke out of its own armor. So it can make nuclear weapons from by cannibalizing itself. I'm like, holy shit! And let's not even go into the fucking penis cannon it has, like flamethrower
Yes.
shit,
And
or
then
the
that-
sword.
That sword.
I'm like, oh my god, this thing is outrageous.
Yeah, yet it's like a Metal Gear that was forgotten in time. Essentially, like, wait, what? It's the most advanced one. What are you talking about?
I know.
They
I
did a
mean,
great
it makes
job.
Zeke look like nothing. It makes everything look like nothing.
That's
Yeah.
that's a plot hole right there. What happened to Zeke?
Yes, man. Oh, hold on, Gary. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say they did a great job making you feel vulnerable when you're trying to escape from that thing.
Oh, yeah.
man. Oh yeah. They
Because
definitely
in the
did.
other games, like you feel like you can take them out like nothing, like Ray and Rex, like you don't feel that vulnerable when you're fighting them. But that thing, you felt very vulnerable. So,
I'm still waiting for the cassette tape that explains why Metal Gear can roar. Like, what function is that? Like, why does this thing fucking roar, man?
Put a roar button on it.
But yeah, you're right though, man. Metal Gear Zeke never explained. Like, it
No,
basically, yeah.
They just said it sank with Mother Base. That was all the excuse they
Well,
gave.
But it
we
didn't
know-
sink. They purposely left it underwater. Understand? Like
Yeah.
nobody
went to
bothered
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, with a nuclear weapon, by the way. That thing has a nuclear weapon. Nobody went to go
Yeah.
just dig it up. Nope.
No.
I guess not. But you know, I mean, obviously we had a bunch of complaints, but let's talk about, you know, the reason why this is still our game of the year, at least for me. The fucking gameplay, man. Like, this is easily the best like stealth game ever played ever in my life. Like, it's so much you could do. You know, giant, expansive open world. Like, at first the open world is kind of intimidating. It's like, wait, it takes you too long to get to places, but you eventually figure it out. You know how to get to places faster and stuff, and it's just so much you can do. The abundance of it, the freedom of it. I'm like, yeah, this is probably what Kojima really wanted all those years ago, just the freedom to do all this shit.
Yeah,
No,
to bust
it's
into a
amazing.
base any way you want. The game dynamically adapts to your tactics. So the more times you sneak in at night, then of course now the guys have more flashlights or wear night vision, and at extremes they wear night vision goggles. You know, the more headshots you shoot, you use on them, the more
Helmets.
the more helmets they'll wear, and stuff like that. They're reactionary. And also the
Yeah.
shift changes. There'll be more guards at certain times of day, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I really like that.
I like that too. And the little Easter eggs he put in, like the tapes. Like if you get the toilet tape, right, and you go in the toilet and the guys are looking for you, and you play all the fart noises and stuff, they leave you alone. Or like you find the guys asleep, I'll take the water pistol and you spray them in the crotch, and they'll get up and go to the bathroom. They're like, oh my god. I love little stupid Easter eggs like that.
Yeah, and I also like the buddy system. Like, D-Dog was the shit, man.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah, I always take him out.
Everything.
Yeah,
Like,
the-
oh, boy.
yeah, D-Dog. I mean, I haven't used too much. I haven't really used Walker
Walker.
gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Walker gear. Yeah, that's the one I don't use. But even the horse is cool too. You can make him shit on the road, and like if a car drives over the shit, it'll like slip and stuff.
see, I didn't even know you could do that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
There's all kinds of little fun details. Like again, with the water gun, you can actually shoot. You can shoot. Not only can you shoot the guy in the crotch and he thinks he has to go to the bathroom, but also if you shoot any of the electronic equipment, like the radios, you shoot that with a water gun a couple times, and then it causes it to malfunction and blow up.
See,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
told me that. That was cool. Also, the Jehuti hand.
Oh,
they
yeah,
had
the
to
hand
delete
of
it.
I started using that now because you told me about
Dude,
it.
that thing is awesome. You literally, it's especially if you don't have quiet around, like, but you have quiet, but if you want to get those guys that have the armor on, you can't shoot them anywhere on their body. You just get close enough, you throw that thing at them and pull them to you, and then you can get them out of the way. Even you can move like stunned bodies if you want. If they're in your the range of the weapon, you can literally just pop them behind something and not have to go over there and walk them over.
Yeah. By the way, can we talk about like the fact that when you upgrade your arm, you run faster? I'm like, do you like the arm initially weighed like 1,000 pounds, and every upgrade makes it weigh less and less? I'm like, how does your arm affect your legs? It makes no sense.
I think there's these video gamey things that still persist in the game in like Metal Gear, and I'm glad that they're still there. Like it's not it's still it's as serious as it gets. It still is a video game, as opposed to a lot of other games where they're just like trying to give reasons for every single thing that happens in there. It's like, all right, it's a game, so you can put these kind of goofy, fun things in there.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, it's also like his little homage to Western culture. The noise it makes is from $6 Million Man. So I guess that's why he runs fast, because $6 Million Man runs fast. It's bionics.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Whenever when you run and then you press the attack button, he makes the same noise too.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and then of course the most popular piece of gear in the game. They could have called the whole game Fulton gear. Like that. You use that Fulton all the time, man. It's great. And then when you upgrade it with the wormhole one, it's even better because you can just like.
And there's absolutely no explanation for it. It just does it.
It's a wormhole. It's a wormhole. There you go. Like, why not?
Because I think that was their way of solving the problem of Fultoning people that are inside buildings. Other than having a hole in the roof, you can't Fulton anybody. In Peace Walker, that was the one silly thing about the game. You could Fulton somebody inside of a building with the balloon.
Yeah, it's like, what?
It's like, whoa, how'd that happen?
But I also like little things like, say you make a soldier get on the ground and you Fulton him, he's like, hey, help!
Yeah.
And then what is it like? And every time you like Fulton a kid, they're like, they think it's fun.
Laughing, yeah.
Yeah, they're having fun.
And like the women soldiers, they get all happy too when you Fulton them out.
Yeah, because it's funny thing is that there's actually no women soldiers in the game. There's only women POWs or female POWs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they're all of those POWs. They always go woohoo and they fly away.
Oh man! By the way, one thing that upset me about the game, you can't steal like helicopters. You can steal everything but helicopters. Like, what the fuck, man? I wanted a whole fleet of Hind-E's, man.
That's funny. That's lacking from Peace Walker. Peace Walker, you could get that stuff.
It was also kind of silly and unbelievable too in Peace Walker because you literally had to tranquilize the guy in the helicopter. He perfectly landed the helicopter right in front of you.
Oh, I don't care. I don't take that away from me.
It's like, man, it's a video game, right? It's a video game.
It's a video game.
Yeah, especially when you get to the one place, like Afghan Central Command, or as Chris and I called it, fucking
Grozny Grad.
It's Grozny Grad.
Yeah.
You go there, there's fucking Hind-E's everywhere. I'm like, man, I want a Hind-E.
It's funny though that when you go in there during that Huey mission, there's way more things in that base than there usually is.
Yeah, there is way
specifically
more
when you go into to pick up Huey for that mission. All of a sudden, there's all this extra shit that just appears there, like extra helicopters, little things, because they're trying to show that they're gathering resources or whatever, and for a big.
Yeah, you can't pick up any of the tanks because they have the wheel locks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, by the way, missed opportunity again. Africa, right? No lions, no giraffes, no hippos.
No Toto.
Nothing. Yeah, no Toto. Exactly. Come on, man. Yeah, Africa was cool, man, because that was like, story-wise, it was kind of just fucked up, just seeing all that stuff, and then I like just the landscapes of it. Yeah, I don't think there's many games that take place in Africa, so it was kind of cool seeing it. Then again, there's not many games that take place in Afghanistan either.
Well, I don't know about that. There's a whole.
Oh wait, those war games. Never mind.
Most war games take place in Afghanistan.
Actually, no, don't they take place in some like quote-unquote Middle Eastern country?
Oh, come on. It's Afghanistan.
Hey, man, it could be Iraq.
Regardless, it's some sort of Arab country with mountains,
even though with Afghanistan and Africa, I'm like, where are the civilians? Like, there's civilians.
There's absolutely no civilians, but if you see a lot of the aftermath, just the visual storytelling, most people, they probably ran all those people out because all of their all of their buildings are blown up. You see all the in some areas you see blown up tanks and blow up oil rigs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Oil trucks and stuff.
Yeah, they definitely captured all that. What other gameplay things do you like from it?
I do. I mean, granted, this is stuff that was from Ground Zeroes, but I like how they refined a lot of the controls, because especially interrogation, like you had to do like a claw in Ground Zeroes to actually get it to do it. Now it's just like you click it in, which is a lot better. It's just he seems to move a lot better in this game. Granted, he still has those moments where you're trying to pick up a guy and then he's next to a gun and then you pick up the gun instead of the guy. That still happens from time to time.
Oh yeah, I hate when it's like Fulton or use the gun and he's like using it. I'm like, no, Fulton this shit. I don't got time for this. You're in some hectic situation. Or the worst is when I want to Fulton a truck and he climbs in. I'm like, son of a bitch.
See, for me it's the reverse. I'm like, okay, let me get my truck. Oh, I just Fulton my fucking truck. God damn it.
I've done that too. Yeah, I've done that. Like, I gotta get in my Jeep. There it goes into the wormhole. Like, oh shit, I have a car now. Also, pointing out what Manny said, this game has better driving in it than Arkham Knight.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. It's just an extra part of the game, and the driving's better.
Yeah, come on. That friggin' Arkham Knight car drives like a bumper car. It just bumps into it. There's no weight to it. Like, at least Snake's fucking Jeep has way more weight to it than that stupid Batmobile did.
See, I'm the opposite. When I was playing this, I'm like, I kind of want to go back to Arkham Knight because I always flipped every single Jeep over, like, consistently. I'm like, am I playing Grand Theft Auto 4 here? Shit. Like, the cars were just so slippery in this game, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to take my horse. I'm not going to drive anywhere now.
I mean, the thing is that one Jeep, me and Chris were talking about this last night. Like, one Jeep has more, flips over more than the other. The African Jeep flips over more than the Afghanistan Jeep.
Yeah, that's why I always summon the Afghan Jeep, because it has better balance. Yeah, the African Jeep flips over on a dime, especially if it's raining and you take a sharp turn, you're flipping over.
Man. Yeah, and that thing slides all over the place.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm glad they don't penalize you for killing animals. Like, you got in my way, you dumb goat. I had to run you over.
They actually penalize you when you physically go out to kill the animals.
Yeah, no, they don't do that.
If you shoot one in let me mention this. For those of you who have played the game, there is a hidden stat. It's the demon stat.
Ah, yes, the demon.
Every single thing in the game causes every single thing has good effects and negative effects. If you shoot a soldier or you kill soldiers or you do any of those things, it will affect you, and then you'll start to notice that the horn on Snake's head will grow. The biggest one that creates the most demon stats is creating a nuke.
Yeah, when I created nuclear weapon, my horn just got super big. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. It's this hidden stat that's inside of the game. So I eventually bought the strategy guide because it had an art book at the back. But in there, I was looking at it. It's like, oh my god, I could see what the different things cause what things. So killing animals, you shooting an animal does have a demon stat, and so does killing off people.
Yeah, even though because I killed off wolves, I killed off wolves, man, because they come in after me. You got to take them out.
Well, no, they don't. It's not a lot. It's actually not a lot for animals, but it actually does add to your demon stat.
It might be less if you're taking out an animal that'll attack you versus you go out and hunt donkeys. Like, that's probably mean.
Yeah, but that horn. But the thing is, you could actually bring your horn down if you do more good stuff. Like, I noticed my horn went back down.
Yeah,
again.
Fultoning living soldiers, Fultoning other soldiers, interrogating soldiers, and then doing stuff. All those things are positive stats, and then that's how you can bring the thing down.
Yeah, so it's a lot of little hidden things. So Metal Gear always has those things.
The one thing once I get, because we all beat the game, but the one thing the end game for me is I want to get that additional. There's another ending.
Whoa,
that's right, dogs. I know, the outrage. There is actually another ending that people who have hacked the PC version of Metal Gear have found that there's an alternate ending where if you apparently from the way the cinematic works is that you've managed to just get rid of all the nukes in the world. But I think what it is, because also in the strategy guide they give you something about that too, not all the way, but if you manage to disarm about 30 nukes, and it gives you a certain amount of heroism. Usually when you get a certain amount of heroism like that, it usually means that you either get a cinematic or it's something else. So I'm thinking if you do 30 of them, you'll eventually get that cinematic.
Yeah, it's like a hidden cinema.
It's like a hidden cinema. It
the
even
guy
has
who found
credits.
yeah,
It even has
does.
credits and
But
stuff.
even the guy who found it, he was like, I don't know how you get this legitimately. He didn't know.
Well, the thing is, I think he thinks that you need to rid all of the world of nukes.
It's not him. It's a group of people, and that's a very interesting thing because there's a group of people out there that are trying to rid the in-game world of nukes, right? Because you invade other people's bases. Then there's a counter group that's like, hey, we need to proliferate nuclear weapons so everybody's equal, which is interesting because that's kind of the argument, for and against nuclear weapons in the real world. So it's kind of interesting how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. So let's give our final thoughts. So Gary, what are your final thoughts overall on the game?
Yeah, it was a great game, especially in terms of gameplay. All those mechanics, and they're all better than a lot of other games that are out there, which is it's a crazy thing to say about Metal Gear Solid because usually the gameplay was the most criticized thing about the previous games. But in this game, it's the opposite, and the story is lacking, but the gameplay is excellent. So my personal thoughts on it, it's definitely not my favorite Metal Gear Solid game because I like the story elements. So I prefer the older games. But it's a great game overall and definitely a standout game for 2015.
Yeah, Manny.
I agree with Gary. I feel like that maybe a lot of the Konami Kojima stuff really affected what might have been the ultimate opus of Kojima's career at Konami. But I feel like that just because of that stuff that we wound up getting less and a slightly less version of what we had. But again, the gameplay is very good, and I think that is what gets a lot of people who aren't in. A lot of people have actually found that this Metal Gear was the one that got them into the series, which is amazing because it's like, wait a minute, you didn't care about it before, but now you do. But it was just because of the gameplay. The gameplay is so accessible right now that pretty much anybody can jump in. Granted, there's a lot of story stuff that might confuse people because it is also has all these other things connected to the other two games. But definitely, I enjoy playing it. And I still enjoy playing it. It's one of those. I guess I could consider it my destiny. That kind of game where it's like, all right, I just feel like putting a little bit here, doing a little there. That kind of good food. That comfort food game.
Yeah, you found it. That's yours right there.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, if you're back, final thoughts.
I think it's an excellent game. I think it would have just put a nice little closer on a fantastic franchise. I think that Konami ruined that, and I honestly don't care if they want to make pachinko games or pinball games or card games or whatever you want to do, but they should have let Hideo Kojima really put the polish on this game, and it would have been something memorable for all time, not just like a game of the year, but like a game of the decade and stuff. I think this could have easily been, if the story was allowed to be finished, probably the best Metal Gear game. And I love Snake Eater. That's still my favorite one. And for me, Peace Walker is my second favorite. But I think this game probably had a little more potential in it, especially if he was allowed to finish the story and put all the polish that he wanted to put on this game. It would have been an excellent game. But for me, I still think it's a fantastic game. To me, it's still Game of the Year. I haven't played Fallout 4 yet, but to me, this still is the best game. And I love Bloodborne. Don't get me wrong. I love my Souls games, and I still think this has just been a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much echo with all you guys said, man. Like, despite all that bullshit drama that happened behind the scenes that really hampered the story of this game, it's still the best stealth game I've played ever, basically. From a gameplay standpoint, I don't think anybody disagrees that this is the best Metal Gear from a gameplay standpoint. It just blows the entire series out of the way. But at the same time, yeah, and Chris, I didn't think about it. You're right. This game could have been a game not just for this year, but for the ages, if they really, and I don't think any one of us would have complained if they would have delayed it till next year. I wouldn't have complained.
No, I wouldn't have minded if we got it early next year or something like that. I wouldn't have minded, even if a little later, because if it meant that everything was, all the cycles would have been completed and we get all the really cool things that we got. It just makes me wonder what the game would have been like Like also, because there's all these things that Konami forced Kojima to do on this one, like
the FOB shit and the microtransactions.
Well, the FOB microtransactions, the forward operation base, not so much. I'm thinking that's something they wanted to do. I'm thinking the other thing is that also separating Ground Zeroes into its own game.
Remember, when we found out that Kojima didn't actually want that to happen.
He didn't want that to happen. They said to him, "We want some. Listen. If you're gonna you're delaying this game again, we need something to release during the new consoles. Get that thing out."
Yeah, I mean, there you go, right there. Just the fact that Ground Zeroes exists lets you know that this final thing, which is like, okay, get the shit out the door now. They use wanting that game out there as quickly as possible.
Maybe he said to them like, it's looking like I need to delay it again, and they're like, no.
Yeah,
get that thing done.
Exactly. The thing I want to say is like, even despite some of the problems, I still feel this is a good way to finish off Metal Gear. Like, if this is the final Metal Gear ever, which it probably won't be, Konami's going to come in and be greedy and shit. They're going to make another Metal Gear. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the final Metal Gear, and I'm happy with the way it ended.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
I'm definitely happy with the way it ended. And it closed up closed the loops. I mean, there's still that Sahelanthropus thing, but I mean, we got that on a video, I guess.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make do with the video. Yeah.
You have to make do with a video of something that might be there. Who knows? They keep saying that they're not going to be doing DLC, but maybe that might be an actual DLC. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. So I agree. This is a great closer. I agree that whatever Konami puts out after this might be as good as Portable Ops, and I hate that game. So, I mean, at worst, we're got Metal Gear Acid. So whatever they do is not going to live up to this. It won't come close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid Pachinko Ops, right?
I always say, okay, what we should do is just re-release Ghost Babel, do an HD version of Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel, the Game Boy game. That game was it wasn't made by Kojima, and it was a really damn good game for the Game Boy.
The only one.
I mean, the thing is that you got to understand also a lot of the games that weren't, well, with the exception of Acid. Actually, no. Well, a lot of those games were created by people at Kojima's studio. They just didn't have that thing. You know what I mean? Like, Portable Ops was written. If you listen to this, if you heard the story of Portable Ops, it's actually a really good story, and it was written by the guy who assists Kojima with the scripts of the Metal Gear games. So that was still good. It's just the actual game wasn't.
Yeah, the actual game
implemented right.
But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is the last Metal Gear, and I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that.
If they do come out with a new one, I'll try that one. But if it sucks, it sucks.
Yeah, because they'll just try to, because the way I see it, they're gonna just try to replicate what Kojima did. I don't know. I don't think it'll work, but we shall see, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will never know. So that's pretty much it, guys. Spoiler alert. You know how we do. We don't come here very often with spoilers, but we did 2 video game spoilers this year. I'm very happy about that. We usually just do movies and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to do one for Fallout because that game's going to take forever. Like, it took us a long time to do this one because we wanted all you guys to finish up the game because it's so fucking gargantuan.
Yeah. Yeah, and me, I was preparing for Comic-Con, and I was doing the little art book, and I was eating into my gameplay time. Also, I have deadlines for work, so I'm glad that you guys kind of waited around for me to get my shit together.
Yeah, because that was the reason because we wanted to do one for Batman, but that never came to fruition. By the time you finish it, it's like no one cares anymore.
At that point, you should have just said, "Fuck it, let's do it."
Nah, you know me how I am. Like, no, it's got to be. People are still talking about Metal Gear and playing Metal Gear, so it's a perfect time to talk about it and stuff. So that's it. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Gary Swaby.
Yep, good to be on.
All right, Emilio Lopez.
I can't think of anything. Later, guys.
And Chris Seeley.
Yeah, guys, take care.
All right, people, later.
Peace.
Parasites.